football on a Friday night with our buddy, the scholar, John Hanson. And oh, by the way, let me do something clever here. Let's see where it is. Oh, it's going to take me 5 seconds. I'm going to put a light on. Whoa! Here I am. John, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Emil. It is the football season. College football season is really rolling. We had CC last week. I was riveted to the television all day Saturday for about 8 straight hours. And tomorrow there are some excellent games to look forward to.
Excellent. Fantastic. All right, let's go to View Graph 1. How's that sound?
Absolutely, my friends.
There we are.
So anyone who's been watching for the first couple of weeks knows that we are beginning with my marvelous matchups. Where are the points coming from in college fantasy football? And this week we have 3 games, Emil, that Vegas is projecting for over 70 points.
Woo.
And 2 of the games, the game script says that it's going to be very close, less than a field goal difference by the favorite. 1 game is a blowout. But we have great games to look at, and we have some tempting sleepers for people to still pick up on the waiver wire. The game that I'm most excited about, Memphis at SMU, my friends. The over-under is 74.5, and SMU is a home under. I absolutely love this game. I think this game has potential to score over 100, Emil. These 2 teams are led by senior quarterbacks, Brady White and Shane Buechele. Both of these young men have quarterbacked well over 20 college games. So they are experienced and they are very, very good. And there are still players that are available on the waiver wire. If you are looking for help in the backfield, I'm going to give you a sleeper later today. But the interesting thing, SMU has 2 runners you can dip into. Ulysses Bentley or TJ McDaniel. Both of those runners, it's a dual backfield. Even though Bentley has separated himself a little bit, should get more touches. Both of them are viable fantasy starters. Memphis, I think people have forgotten. Emil, they haven't played since the first week in September. They had a COVID outbreak, cancellation of games. They have a tight end named Sean Dykes. Sean Dykes is a redshirt senior. He's coming back from an injury, but he popped week 1 way back in early September. Sean Dykes is still available. Go ahead and grab him, everyone. Now, the blowout game tomorrow with the over-under 70 is UCF against Tulsa. UCF is the heavy favorite here. They are projected to score over 45 points themselves. We've talked about Dylan Gabriel. He's their quarterback, left-handed stud, fantastic player. The backfield's kind of nasty because they have 3 running backs there. Very hard to dip into the UCF backfield unless you get the right player and he pops on the right week. But Greg McCray is the starter. He's the home run hitter. But Otis Anderson and Benjavis Thompson also get touches here. So it is a tough backfield for UCF to dip into. But they have great receivers. Trey Nixon, Marlon Williams, and Jalen Robinson are all studs. Now, Trey Nixon did not play this week. He may or may not play tomorrow. We still don't have confirmation yet. But Marlon Williams and Jalen Robinson are must-starts in that wide receiver corps. Then we go to a game that most people probably aren't looking at unless they're diehards like myself. Southern Mississippi versus North Texas. The over-under here is 71.5. That's why astute college fantasy football players have to look at any type of game where Vegas is telling you it's a 71 over-under. What is the best about this game is North Texas is a 1.5-point favorite. So both teams in this game should be into it. Their starters are playing well into the fourth quarter. There is tremendous production in this game. So go look at Southern Mississippi and North Texas. We're going to give you some plays throughout the night in this game. But there are lots of players available on these two rosters this weekend. Then we have an interconference game between the American Athletic Conference and Georgia State. At ECU, they have Holton Ahlers, Charles Johnson, and they have Tyler Sneed, the two wide receivers. Holton Ahlers disappointed us last week against ECU. This game is going to be much closer. UCF just blew ECU out of the water. They should stay in this game. Ahlers will bounce back here and the pass game. Now, Georgia State is a team that people are not looking enough. They've got players here, and they're expected to put up over 35 points. In an emergency quarterback, Cornelius Brown is a dual threat. Go ahead and pick him up. Dustin Coates is very good, so you can pick up two good Georgia State players to help you on your team. And finally, the big SEC matchup. It's expected to be a blowout. Arkansas at Mississippi State, but they have a 69 over-under, and that is because of Mike Leach and that air raid offense exploded last week. It was just an incredible game. If you did not see it, but people have been talking about it all week. KJ Costello set an SEC record, his first start ever in the SEC within a Mike Leach offense, and he throws for over 600 yards. Mississippi State should up lots of points at home against Arkansas here. So those are our five big games in the marvelous matchups to pick up some free agents, Emil.
Fantastic. Let's go to the next slide.
All right, under the microscope, who am I going to be watching? I already got my notepads out. I'm ready. First one, Kylan Hill of Mississippi State. If you have not seen him, everyone, he is a top 5 prospect at the running back position. He was unbelievable last week. He played so well. He's rising up draft boards, finally a little bit awoken to him. I'm going to tell you, he's 5'11", 215-pound back. He decided to return for his senior season. Last year, he was first team All-SEC. He surpassed 100 yards rushing in 8 games. For his career at Mississippi State, he has over 2,400 yards rushing, 384 yards reception. He has 44 catches in his career and 21 touchdowns before the season began. Last week, it was fascinating, Emil. Yes. I was wondering how Kylan Hill would do in Mike Leach's system. A complete different scheme. He only had 7 carries, but Kylan Hill had 8 receptions for 158 yards receiving and a touchdown. He had 36 points in fantasy football if you were playing in a PPR scoring. He is rising up boards because last year he showed us how spectacular he was in the ground game. Mike Leach is a 70-30 split. He's going to throw the ball 70% of the time or more and run it about 30% of the time. But that's he's going to become pass catchers, and they get peppered targets and receptions. Hill is going to illustrate to us what an amazing pass catcher he is. He might end up as a first-round pick. That's how much I like him. You've got to watch. He's under the microscope tomorrow against Arkansas. And last week, Kyle Pitts. He exceeded all my expectations of what he was going to do. He was high on my prospects at the tight end list. But we have a great class at tight end. There might be 3 tight ends in the first 2 rounds of the 2021 draft. And one of those players will be Kyle Pitts, 6'6", 240. He's kind of in that Mike Gesicki, Evan Ingram bucket. He's more of a pass catcher than he is an inline blocker. You can flex him out wide. You can put him in motion. He can play H-back. But, Emil, we love it in fantasy football. Kyle Pitts is a legitimate NFL prospect at tight end. He could be the top 2 draft or top of the draft this week. 8 receptions for 106 yards and 4 touchdowns. That is correct. 4 touchdowns. The Florida Gators are low offenses. They're one of the best. They're going to score points. They have a good quarterback in Kyle Trask, and Kyle Pitts is their best playmaker on offense. So tomorrow, everyone, under the microscope, Kylan Hill and Kyle Pitts. Check them out. They're going to be high. We're going to talk about them a lot in the spring.
Those are some incredible numbers for Kylan Hill. 8 catches for 150 plus. That's like roughly 18 yards a carry off the top of a catch. That's insane. That's just unbelievable. All right, off to the next slide.
Plus, he's an SEC.
He's a what?
Absolutely. He's an SEC runner. And we have at the top of my sleep board this week, Kansas State quarterback Skylar Thompson. Get him into your lineups, folks. He's still available on about 30% of leagues, but he's mostly still on the bench. He last week led an incredible upset of Oklahoma. I watched nearly every play of that game. I watched the entire fourth quarter of that game. Skylar Thompson threw for 334 yards, and he had a touchdown. But why Skylar Thompson is such an fantasy player? He had 3 rushing touchdowns last week against Oklahoma. He led this great upset of the Sooners by the Wildcats. This week he plays Texas Tech. Kansas State is going to stay in this game. They are favored by 2.5. So we have a potential shoot. I think this one goes over 64. Texas Tech is they spread them out. They throw the football. And Kansas can stay in the game with Skylar Thompson in this offense. If he's on your team, put him in your lineup, everyone. I like Skylar Thompson a ton this week. One of the players that I'm shocked that's still available in so many leagues, he should be on 70 to 80% of rosters. Last I looked, there he is. He's 39% of leagues have Rodriguez rostered. He should be on there in every league owned. I think people have forgotten about the Memphis Tigers. I alluded to them earlier. Rodriguez Clark replaced Kenneth Gainwell because Kenneth Gainwell opted out of the season. So, way back on September 5th against Arkansas State, Rodriguez Clark had 20 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. Rodriguez Clark also, in this Memphis system, they throw to the running backs. He's going to get some receptions here, everyone. He's the starting running back of the Memphis Tigers in a shootout that is 74.5 points, and Memphis is a favorite road with an expected 37 points or more scored. Go grab Rodriguez Clark right now. Put him on in your lineups. Rodriguez Clark is going to go off tomorrow for the Memphis Tigers. A player that is wildly underowned, and I just wrote about him in my Sleepers article for Fantrax. Vincent Davis of Pittsburgh. By far, Vincent Davis is getting the majority of touches in the Pittsburgh Panthers backfield. He is a redshirt sophomore. He was not expected to be the bell cow, but he has over 40 carries on the season, and he has 2 touchdowns, and he has 7 receptions. Pittsburgh plays North Carolina State at home. Pittsburgh is a heavy favorite, 14-point favorite. Pittsburgh should be running the ball with their starters in the game well into the fourth quarter. Go grab Vincent Davis if you need a running back. I did on 2 teams. Put him in your flex position. Vincent Davis is going to have another good day for the Pittsburgh Panthers. You need some help at wide receiver. I got 2 here for you. 1, Jerron Pierce of Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is 0-3. People are probably not looking at the Blue Devils here. However, Jaron Pierce has 27 targets the last 2 weeks. He only trails Marlon Williams of UCF. He's the second most targeted wide receiver in the nation over the last 2 weeks. Middle Tennessee is favorite here against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky can throw the football and will score points. So Jerron Pierce will be on the field. He'll have plenty of targets. I like Pierce here against Western Kentucky. And the last one, I mentioned it, Texas Tech against Kansas State. I want a lot of this game. Texas Tech runs 4 receivers nearly every play of the game. They have fantastic passing game. They're going to score points here. Keyshawn Carter is the 3rd on the depth chart for targets and receptions. But they all have plenty of to score touchdowns and get peppered with receptions. Go pick up Keyshawn Carter of Texas Tech against Kansas State. Those are my 5 sleepers that you should be able to go and acquire right now on your college fantasy football rosters.
5 sleepers in week 5. Not bad. Off to the next slide.
Yes. All right, we're looking at the day slate, my friends. And the day slate has 13 games. And it has many of the games that we have already been talking about. So I want to give you my Fantastic 4 to help you build your roster around. First, I'm going to start at the quarterback position. And I'm going with Alan Bowman. We've already mentioned Shane Buechele is out there. Sam Ehlinger, Texas, is out there. Kyle Trask, Brady White, Sam Howell, Desmond Ryder of Cincinnati, and Mac Jones of Alabama. All of those quarterbacks are more expensive than Alan Bowman. Alan Bowman has a ceiling that is just as high as any of those. The difference is he's going to produce points with arms, not his leg. So I like Bowman a lot in this shootout on the road against K-State. Last week against Texas, he threw for 325 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had 33 DraftKings points. The week before, against Houston Baptist, he had 430 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he scored 29 points. I think he easily scores 30 points on the road here against Kansas State. I like Alan Bowman. I had mentioned Ulysses Bentley the 4th earlier. You've got to get a piece of this action of Memphis and SMU. He is a starting running back in the highest over-under of the day. He's mispriced at $5,900, everyone. The pricing is not caught up to his production. He was not expected to be the starting running back and to be the star for the Mustangs. First week of the season, he had 2 touchdowns, but only 11 carries. The following week, he had 3 touchdowns and 227 yards rushing. And then last week, this is incredible, he had 6 carries, but 104 yards rushing. Ulysses Bentley is a rising star in college fantasy football. He's the starting running back in an offense that should score over 40 points. You've got to put Ulysses Bentley on your roster. Even if he's owned on over 50%, I don't care. Put him on your roster. Then I need to save money more at the running back because there's a lot of receivers and you might want a high-priced quarterback. I'm going to give you Jerron Ely, Ole Miss Rebels. Last week, Ole Miss put up 35 points in a loss to Florida. Jerron Ely, why I like him so much, he's on the field all 3 downs. Last week he had 3 receptions for 44 yards, 16 carries for 79 yards, and a touchdown. Mississippi State, I think they're going to win this game. I'm sorry, Mississippi. I believe they're going to win this game on the road against Kentucky. Get Jerron Ely in your lineup. And in college fantasy football, when you have an expected over-under of 74 points and SMU is expected to score at least 5 touchdowns, I'm okay double dipping at the running back and at the wide receiver. I need to save money on this slate. Danny Gray is number 3 in the pecking order at SMU, but he has scored 11, 14, and 16 DraftKings points the first 3 games of the season. Danny Gray has the potential to explode for over 20, and he has a great floor of at least 11 points in this shootout with Memphis. I like Danny Gray. He's only 5,100. Put him in your lineup, everyone. That's my Fantastic Four this week. Alan Bowman, Ulysses Bentley, Jerron Ely, and Danny Gray. That's a great foundation to your cash game on the day slate.
Excellent stuff. Now for the next slide.
We're going to the evening slate, and there are 6 games on this slate. So we got to be very careful who we're picking. Now, one of the players on the slate is Kylan Hill. I'm not going to put him in my Fantastic Four because he's the highest priced running back. It is up to you. Do you want to pay for Mississippi State Kylan Hill, or do you want their pass catcher? Their very, very expensive pass catcher, Osiris Mitchell, sorry. So that you can decide. I'm going to give you other players in my Fantastic Four and then let you build around Mississippi State. Who do you want in your lineup? I'm going to start here with Dylan Gabriel. He is the 4th most expensive quarterback on this slate, with the aforementioned KJ Costello of Mississippi State, Trevor Lawrence of Clemson, and Spencer Rattler of Oklahoma. I'm going to go a little bit down and take Dylan Gabriel. He has just opened this season. He has been unbelievable. 8 touchdowns already this season, 4 in each game, wildly consistent. 408 yards against Eastern Carolina and 417 yards against Georgia Tech. And both of those games are on the road. He scored 35.4 and 36.6 DraftKings points. Dylan Gabriel should at least throw the floor of 3 touchdowns again. He might throw 5 at home against Tulsa. So go with Dylan Gabriel. I'm going to go with a bounce-back player here. Last week, Rakeem Boyd in Arkansas played Georgia, and they just got absolutely destroyed 37-10. Rakeem Boyd only had 21 yards rushing on 11 carries. He did have 4 receptions in the loss, but he only gained 8 yards. Rakeem Boyd is one of the most underrated running backs in the SEC. They're playing Mississippi State here, and it is the 5th highest projected over-under in the game. They're going to stay in the game and score points. Mississippi State's defense is bad. They are not the Georgia Bulldogs. Rakeem Boyd will explode here for over 100 yards, and he should get between 6 receptions. He's only 4,900 because he started out fourth. I'm going to take Rakeem Boyd. Then, my wide receiver. I'm going to take Jalen Robinson of the Knights against Tulsa. I want that quarterback-wide receiver duo in a huge expected offensive game. And the last 2 weeks, Jalen Robinson has stepped in for Trey Nixon, and he has proven his value. He has scored 19.5 and 39 DraftKings points. Jalen Robinson is hot. He's going to be targeted heavily. He's had over 100 yards rushing in each game and 15 receptions in the first 2 games of the year for the Knights. He's only 5,200. I also do want that piece. I want a piece of that Mississippi State offense. Javonte Payton is underpriced, 5,700. Last week he had 6 receptions for 122 yards. He scored 20.3 DraftKings points, and he didn't even get into the end zone. If he had scored, he would have had over 26 points. Javonte Payton is in the rotation. They run 4 wide receivers all the time in the air raid, and as I mentioned, they're going to throw the ball 70% of the time. That's my Fantastic Four, Emil. Dylan Gabriel, Rakeem Boyd, Jalen Robinson, and Javonte.
That's fantastic. Hey, could you re-say the projections you have for Rakeem Boyd? There was a slight dropout when you did.
Absolutely. I think Rakeem Boyd will exceed 100 yards rushing against Mississippi State, and he will have between 4 and 6 receptions in this matchup because Arkansas can score on that Mississippi State defense.
All right. Okay. The next slide.
All right, Emil. We bounced back last week in our best bets. I went 2-1, but let me tell you how I lost one of the games. It is absolutely shocking. I had TCU on the road, and I was getting 2.5 points. They scored a touchdown, and if they kicked the field goal, they would have lost the game by 2 points. They could not have won it. But if they kicked the extra point, I cover. The coach at TCU decides not to kick the extra point. He takes the team off the field, my friend.
Oh.
Because of that, TCU loses by 3 instead of 2, and I don't cover. So I was that close to going 3-0, but that's what happens when you are putting some money down. You have these heartbreaking losses at times. Definitely. So I got 3. Unbelievable, Emil. It drove me crazy for about an hour on Saturday. Then I moved on, right? You got to move on.
An hour is definitely enough.
Yes. It was one of those days. So today, I've been talking about this game, SMU versus Memphis. I think this is fantasy gold. I love home underdogs. We have a senior quarterback in Shane Buechele, who has one of the best offenses and one of the best trio of receivers around him in the country. You mean 2.5. I would love to get that through, but I'm getting 2.5 as a home underdog. Also, Memphis has not played since September 5th. They've had games canceled because of and COVID and all the stuff that's happening in our country. So Memphis hasn't played in almost a month. SMU has played 3 games. They're ready here. Memphis has been to the American Athletic Conference Championship game 3 years in a row. The first 2 won it last year. If SMU wants to get to the American Athletic Conference Championship game, if they want to run the table, this is probably their most difficult challenge on the board. They've got to beat Memphis here. I love SMU in this game. I'll take the 2.5 at home. I think they're going to beat Memphis. Second one, I'm going to take TCU plus 11.5 on the road at Texas. It's interesting. When you look at Gary Patterson, he's a defensive-minded coach, and he plays this funky defense. It's a 4-2-5. He plays it because in the Big 12, teams throw the football, run 3 and 4 receiver sets all the time. What Patterson tries to do is keep the opponent in a tight ball game. He doesn't want Oklahoma to score 50. He doesn't want Texas to score 50. He doesn't want Baylor to put up 50. So he keeps the game tight with extra defensive backs, and he even goes to 6 on 3rd and long. Texas has a very hard time historically play in Gary Patterson. TCU can play defense. They're very nasty at the linebacker and at the safety position. They tackle well. Tech terrible on defense. They just had a nail biter against Texas Tech. They just squeaked out a win. I believe TCU here on the road. No, at home. I'm sorry. Wait, let me get this right. What am I doing wrong? I got to make sure I got this one right. It's at Texas. Yes, TCU on the road as an away underdog. I'll take the 11.5. That they keep this game close against Texas. And finally, we have the Ole Miss game. I was talking about Jerron Ely. Lane Kiffin is the new coach at Ole Miss. They have a quarterback that I highlighted in my sleepers column, Matt Corral, who played well last week. Lane Kiffin can coordinate an offense. He was Devin Singletary's coach at Florida Atlantic. He's also was who's the tight end now? Who's the Browns? Oh my God, I forgot.
Hoover?
Harrison Bryant.
Oh yeah.
He was he was his coach at Florida Atlantic. Both of them are in the NFL. Lane Kiffin can coordinate an offense. He's got a good offense here at Ole Miss. They have talent. I believe that they go into Kentucky. I'm getting 6 points at Kentucky. Kentucky is not a great football team. They're okay. Ole Miss bounces back here. They win on the road, and I'm getting nearly a touchdown. Lane Kiffin gets his first win in the SEC on the road against Kentucky, my friends. Those are my 3 best bets this week.
I like them. That's going to be fun. 2 teams on the road.
Yeah, I like road teams with quarterbacks and good coaches. I'll take those teams. And Kentucky, I'm not sold on Kentucky. I don't think they're a great team. They've been good, but I don't think they're as good this year as they have been recently. So I'll take those. Those are my 3 best bets.
Fantastic. And we just have, about 2 weeks after this weekend for some more teams to come in to college fantasy football.
Yeah. 2 weeks and the Big Ten comes in, and then the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are going to follow. So it's going to get more and more. It's going to get so exciting, Emil. And the slates are going to get bigger on the DraftKings. If you're playing now with us and you've been watching this show, I believe you are way ahead of the crowd. The crowd is starting to come in. They're starting to talk about college fantasy football. But we've been talking about it. I have a pretty good idea which teams are good and not. We have the players here, and there's still value on the board. But we're here all year to help you out.
Fantastic. Those are great. I can't wait to get some lineups in before the games start tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be working on those tonight. And for our show tomorrow night, the line of scrimmage, the DFS cash game show. Got a long night ahead of us.
Saturday night. Fantastic.
Yes,
thank you, sir. It was a great show.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Good luck, everybody.